This video is brought to you by Dannenbaum, one of the state's premier firms for planning and design of all types of infrastructure, with expertise in surface transportation, public infrastructure, hydrology and hydraulics, land development, airports, ports, and harbors. Learn more at www.dannenbaum.com or contact an office near you.
In a place like North Texas that is bursting with vibrant communities and attracting new businesses, expanding and maintaining our infrastructure is more vital than ever. But where do we start? The Texas Department of Transportation's mission is to provide safe, efficient, and effective means for movement of people and goods. Throughout the state, we are facilitating trade and economic opportunities, and in the North Texas area, the Texas Department of Transportation is doing just that. I'm Bill Hale, Dallas District Engineer, and one of the many people who work to carry out this mission.
I'm Michael Morris, Director of Transportation at the North Central Texas Council of Governments. I work with two wonderful boards, the Executive Board and the Regional Transportation Council, to develop and help Bill Hale and others develop consensus in transportation planning, engage the public to get input on the best way to proceed, and help fund the important transportation projects in the region.
And I'm Linda Coop, Dallas City Council member and Vice Chair of the DRMC, and it's my pleasure to serve as the host of today's panel. And for those of you watching, this video's goal is to help you understand more about TxDOT and the role of the COG, how transportation projects are selected, where the money comes from to fund these projects, and how the money is allocated, and the ideas transportation leaders and our elected officials are discussing in order to enhance transportation planning, find new revenue sources, and improve funding allocation. Let's get started with what agencies and organizations are responsible for planning, building, and maintaining our transportation systems. Bill, let's start with you first. Tell us what TxDOT does.
TxDOT plans, designs, operates, and maintains the facilities we have throughout our district. There's 25 districts throughout the state. We have expert resources in the Austin division up there who helps us with operations that make sure that we are the state-of-the-art type of facilities. And then we work to make sure we implement those throughout the area. We work with folks like Michael Morris in the North Central Texas Council of Governments to make sure that we plan the projects in the areas that are needed most in our area, and that's what we do.
And is that how the region gets involved as well, as far as funding and deciding on the lines?
That's correct. For the most part, we have a need. A need is established on a roadway or a facility that we have out there. We then have to try to find the funding. The funding is then worked out with Michael. We basically go to Michael Morris and the Regional Transportation Council to work on that. When that occurs, we then determine how to develop the thing. And once we start developing a facility, then we come in there and then put together a set of plans that makes that work.
Mm-hmm. And we understand how TxDOT works. And Michael, since you're the director of the RTC, the Regional Transportation Council, how does that all mesh together as far as transportation for the entire region, including rail lines, roadways, highways?
Before I answer that, Ms. Coop, I'd like to really thank you for your service, not only on the City Council here in Dallas, your role in the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition. You're a member of the Regional Transportation Council, and you are the COG president this year. I really appreciate the service that you have for our particular community.
Thank you.
The role that we play, and we basically wear two hats. One is the role as the Council of Governments. Our members are local governments. We go out and work closely with the public to take the plans that Bill described and develop consensus on how's the best way to proceed, have it be a particular freeway project or a thoroughfare street project or a bicycle plan. And then we take it to the implementing agency, have it be the city or the county, or in this case TxDOT, to go ahead and implement that particular project. So there's planning, there's a public outreach and consensus building, there's the implementation agency that has to be picked, and then Bill's already described, the hard part is then to go get the funding to implement that particular project.
And that's really is the hard part, is going to get the funding for any project, whether it be a rail project or a TxDOT project as well. And at the Regional Transportation Council, how would an individual, an elected official, get involved in picking the various roadways?
Well, we go through two steps. We first have to get consensus on the plan or the vision, or what are we trying to accomplish. So we have data and information, and then elected officials will bring us needs from across the community. And then we decide, is it best answered through a rail project or a roadway project, or maybe even a policy or a program best meets that particular need. After we get the plan, then the next step is we go through what is often referred to as a call for projects. We say, hey, we have money maybe in a particular program like bicycle pedestrian, or it might be in a program like Bill Hale has with regard to bottlenecks or freeway improvements. And then we engage the public to submit what they think are the most, say, congested freeways, have it be a freeway program, or the most dangerous intersections, if it's an intersection type program. So the elected official should and could be engaged just like the public in the planning phase to make sure this vast region of 6.5 million people is moving in the correct direction. And then, back to the hard part, what is the next increment of projects that takes us in that particular direction?
And then, Bill, how does TxDOT end up selecting the project? Do you just take the projects that the Regional Transportation Council gives you in priority, or?
No, we typically take the suggestion that Michael brings to us for the region, because no one knows the region better than the Council of Governments and the Regional Transportation Council, what needs to be used for that area. We then take it to our commission in Austin to select the projects, basically take that information and concur with what typically happens in the North Texas region as far as project goes. So.
Bill, sometimes you actually have your own calls, like pavement or bridge or other things.
Well, typically the Texas Department of Transportation will handle most of the maintenance operations, because in those cases it's simply redoing the same structure that's already there. So we will take care of that aspect of it, and I at the district office has a amount of funds that goes towards that. When it comes to congestion relief, mobility, the different programs Michael mentioned before, we will go to the NPO and the Regional Transportation Council to come up with a solution for the area that's cohesive, because there's over 130 different groups in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it has to be cohesive, and the Council of Governments takes care of that. And
can you tell us a little bit, Bill, about how you interact, or how our region interacts with the commission, and who is the commission, so that everyone is in the viewing audience will know?
The commission is the Texas Department of Transportation's policy board. They basically set the policies, and they also approve different things like a city council would for a city. And we basically, the administration for TxDOT, we have a staff in Dallas that works through Austin office, and then we are led by an executive director in Austin, and that executive director answers to the commission, and the commission then will act on many vital information, particularly money, policy, and anything that goes with that, and then we will take it back to the region, and it keeps it spread out throughout the state on how the vital important projects.
Right. Okay. Well, now let's talk a little bit about really, the critical part of this that is finding the money, finding the funding. We have a lot of needs in North Texas, there's no doubt about that, but finding funding for those needs is really a critical part. So, Michael, kind of walk us through how we find the funding.
Well, the funding is important, and I think it gets us back to the importance of the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition. We have a little over 18 cents in federal gasoline tax. That comes back to the states, and sometimes our state makes our national government aware that sometimes we don't get our fair share of that money back.
Right.
And then we have 20-cent gasoline tax plus vehicle registration fees in the state, and 25% of that goes to education, which is an important part of state government. Given the current situation that Mr. Hale finds himself, most of that money, that 38 cents, is going to the maintenance of the system, which obviously is our number one priority, along with safety and to maintain the bridges and the pavements. So finding money, as you indicate, Ms. Coop, for new projects is very, very difficult. So we engage the public and bring the issue directly to them. We do everything we can to engage the business community, because as an inland metropolitan region, goods movement is critical to our survivability because we don't have access to the sea. And we go to organizations like the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition and say, here's all the money we have. Mr. Hale is doing all these items. 1 million people are coming to our region every 10 years. We need more capacity. What is the best way to proceed in trying to engage our state legislature and our Congress in understanding the predicament we're in, to see if we can get additional tools or revenues to fund the needs in our particular region?
And I think we've done a good job, especially in this last legislative session. And Bill, maybe you could talk about just how innovative we became trying to get some money for Highway 183 and also for Interstate 35.
Well, in the last legislative session, we were given the authority to do some innovative financing and innovative construction. Two of the methods that we were granted in the Dallas-Fort Worth area was, in the state in general, but we were picked for project specific, were comprehensive development agreements or public-private partnerships, which allow for innovative financing and bringing in private equity to help with building a project. Large, very large projects that are complicated are very difficult to come with all the funding at one time. So taking that mechanism allowed us to do that, and that's exactly what happened on I-35 up there, and also on State Highway 183. They gave us that authority. In addition, we were given the authority to do design build on limited number 3. And in the state of Texas, the Dallas district is the only one so far that has been allowed, has a project on the design build program. That would be the Horseshoe project in the downtown Dallas. And that recently got approved to go ahead and move forward with it. So those innovative ways to build a project and get them to construction has been vital, because not only do we have multiple mechanisms as far as funding goes, we have different tools that can help accelerate and reduce the risk, or help with getting the projects across the goal line when it gets taken care of.
And I think one thing that we have in the region that maybe other regions perhaps do not have is a very educated elected body that knows a lot about these different types of funding sources and a lot about the different projects in both regions in our Metroplex area. And I think that probably is helpful when we go down to Washington, and when also we go down to Austin to lobby for the various kinds of tools that we need in our toolbox in order to get these projects completed. And Michael, if you looked into your crystal ball, what do you see out into the future as far as funding goes? Do you see that we're still going to, because the mileage for cars is getting better and better, and electric cars are coming on board, what do you see in our future as far as funding?
Well, if you listen to the citizens and read the polls both last November and this November and last summer, the person on the street is expecting us to do more with less, which brings a great opportunity to us. We should look at it as a challenge. The legislature should be given an awful lot of credit, as you indicate, Councilmember Coop, for the tools they gave us, and Bill's already described that, as well as the use of Proposition 12 funds from the general revenue to come back over to the transportation side and help us. So I agree with you. It was a great legislative session, and the legislators in this state should be really commended for what they did for us in transportation. I think the future, unfortunately, is going to get more complicated. We currently, as we indicated earlier, collect a little over 38 cents per gallon. Gallons are no longer a very good tool to measure transportation need or obtain revenue for transportation, because we have electric cars now that don't pay any user fee, and we have a huge increase in the miles per gallon, which is great for a national energy policy, but not very good to send revenue to Mr. Hale to fund things. We got to start to develop new ways in which the revenue should be collected, distance-based, VMT measures, so you travel more, you pay 2 cents a mile or something. Maybe that's the best way to collect it, so electric cars pay their fair share and high mileage cars pay their fair share. We are at the crossroads of this discussion, because I'm not sure we can proceed with no additional revenue for capacity improvements. At least regions like ours can't. That puts more pressure on you as a local elected official to try to fund all these regional needs out of your bond programs and things, and that's not really fair to your property tax person who's now trying to fund, which are really regional or statewide needs. But I think we need to continue the dialogue with the state, and we really need to engage our Congress. Our Congress seems to be at a crossroads right now on really what is a national transportation system, and I really think we really need the RTC members like yourself and the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition to get maybe a similar breakthrough this year on our federal legislation to help us with long-term revenue outlook.
Right, and I think we all agree with that, and we talk a lot about that in our DRMC meetings about how can we go to our congressional delegation and explain what the situation is in the funding shortfall and make suggestions as well. There's one other thing that I thought that might be interesting for the audience to know about today, and that is this regional rail plan that they're putting together through TxDOT. And I wondered, Bill, if you could tell us, since they're putting that together through TxDOT, just a brief overview of what that's going to be.
Well, briefly, the state has been working to try to develop a rail plan that would go throughout the area that basically connects major metropolitan areas and help reduce the time it takes to get from one to the other and move goods and services that same way. At Regional Rail Plan, we've been working closely with the MPOs to make sure that we tie into each community as it goes through there. And our rail division in Austin has been working very closely with the MPO up here in Dallas, as well as the one in Houston and in San Antonio and Austin, to see if we could come together with a plan that would do that. Helping move goods and services throughout that whole corridor. Basically, if you look down through the I-35 corridor all the way up through that area, that's a major transportation of people and goods to that area. And it's also a NAFTA highway, so having the ability to move those things throughout the area is very important.
It definitely is going to be part of our future.
That's
There's
correct.
no question. And I think nationally you see that coming to the forefront in some of the transportation legislation that's being proposed nationally, that, you know, will we have high-speed rail? Will we have higher speed rail? And how will we fund that? And all those kinds of questions, because it's an important piece of our mobility plan for the entire state of Texas. You know, we're really fortunate, Michael, here in Texas to be a growing state, especially here in the Metroplex. But with that good fortune comes congestion. There's no question about that.
That's right.
Do you have any closing comments for us? I'll go to you first, Michael.
Well, I really want to go back to this notion that this region, when it comes up with a problem, develops a very imaginative, often out-of-the-box solution. We've been forecasting this financial crisis for close to 15 years, and not every transportation solution is necessary for every corridor. But you know, look at DART leading the nation and putting light rail systems in place in the corridors that need it, and our North Texas Tollway Authority building toll roads in those particular corridors. And I think Bill has probably 2 or 3 award-winning US 75 Central Expressway and the plans for now LBJ and some other things. So this region, you know, even though we're in tough, constrained times, this region really pulls itself together very strongly. And I think the key, as you indicated, Councilmember Coop, is the elected officials who very much understand innovative finance, the importance of business, and it creates a great opportunity to really do some out-of-the-box implementation. But if the citizens who watch this just think through the amount of transportation construction over the last 10 years, they think this is happening in all the cities in North America, but it isn't.
That's
and
true.
it's really, these constraints have really got us thinking, and it creates good teamwork, and it's really a fun place to do business.
It really is, and Bill and his group have done a great job of, you know, moving transportation forward in our region, which is really growing, a huge growing part of Texas. Do you have any closing comments for us, Bill?
No, just the partnership Michael was talking about. That partnership is recognized nationwide as one of the strongest ones in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They frequently look to this area as a example of how the Metropolitan Planning Organization and the state government and the federal government work together to get projects across the goal.
And that's great, yes, and we appreciate the recognition nationally as well. Well, today we've learned that just like our roads, our traditional financial model for transportation is broken. We've been able to find creative short-term sources of funding, but these are just a Band-Aid that enables us to improve our transportation systems just enough to keep congestion from getting worse. The problem is we still have a problem that costs you $924 and 45 hours of your time each and every year. Traffic is not going to improve unless we take responsibility for our roads. We cannot afford to do nothing. Good transportation is linked to your work productivity, your home values, the growth of your business, and your access to goods that you choose to buy and the services you want to use. To stay informed about important transportation issues affecting our region or the state and federal policies affecting funding, join the Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition.